Hey, what is up, podcast peeps? So glad to have you here for another edition of Daily Scone. Before we even get cranked up today, just really want to encourage you to like, share, comment, send this along. And you know what's been really interesting for me as I've made my way through this podcast and sort of learned a lot and got a lot of your feedback. What's been so interesting to me is, my objective or impression was this was going to be a media podcast, a broadcast podcast, something that aspiring media members could use as a tool as they embark on their career, or people in their career right now could use to enhance their career, and we could use it sort of as a place for not only me but other people in media to give sort of their experiences and advice. A couple of podcasts ago, we had something I really enjoyed, a two-part conversation with Jordy Collada talking about some of the challenges faced with organizing a morning show, and then also how to book guests. And I thought that was really compelling. But what's been interesting is a lot of the feedback I've gotten from so many of you has been, I work in outside sales, I working in different industries, taking some of the the tidbits or the lessons we're sharing here and finding them applicable to whatever it is you do. So that's really cool for me. Quite honestly, I mean, like literally as I record this, it's 10:56 p.m. I'm standing in my son's closet. My wife's putting Drew to bed, and I want to record this podcast every day. It's what my aim to do, and I'm kind of jacked about it because what I want to talk about today is something I think is universal no matter what line of work you're in. So I had a client meeting today, and this happens often. So I'm very, very big. We've talked about this in the past. I got a lot of sponsors on my radio show, and I believe so firmly in being selective when you choose who you endorse, like choosing good companies, people that you're passionate about, that you feel is a good fit, and that when that's genuine, the genuineness will come through. It's believable because it's genuine. It makes the business more likable, more sellable. You get results, and then obviously if they're getting results, they're going to keep advertising. So it becomes this symbiotic relationship that works fantastic. But a big part of that for me is having an open line of communication. Like I mentioned in the past, I have a note on my desk. It's a list of every company that I endorse, and someone with that company will hear from me every week. If it's not the company directly, if there's an agency that represents them, that agency will hear from me every week because it's important. It's like the comparison I gave a while back was what would happen if you kissed your wife once a month? How would that relationship go? It can't be like that. It just can't. It can't prosper and flourish. Like there's got to be an open line of communication. If they're investing their money in you and their trust in you, they want to know that you're working hard for them. That's not just true in endorsement. That's anything. Like if you pay someone to cut your grass, like you expect the grass to be cut, then you want it to look good, and there should be an expectation there that for a delivery of services. So anyway, I'm big on keeping an open line of communication with clients. And if there's something we need to readdress and sit down face to face, we do that because nobody knows that business better than the client and the business owner. And by my asking questions of that business owner, I get a much better idea of their objectives, some of their struggles, what's working in advertising, what's not, what they're hearing. I mean, you could make certain assumptions, but it's just not going to be as effective. So anyway, I'm big on client meetings whenever possible. So I endorse an attorney's office. It's MGM Injury Attorneys, McGlynn, Glisson, and Mouton. And they're in Baton Rouge. And there's some sort of unique struggles with endorsing an attorney that you don't have with other businesses. Namely, the bar association doesn't allow you to do a true live. Any endorsement or any ad has to be recorded and approved. And there are certain stipulations, like you've got to mention offices in Baton Rouge. You've got to mention the name of at least one of the partners in the firm. You have to mention that it is a paid endorsement. So like if you're watching TV or you're watching a video ad, you'll see at the bottom, this is a paid endorsement. You'll see offices in wherever you're located at the bottom of the screen. These are things that are mandated by different bar associations. So you work with those elements to work them into a spot to also make it feel genuine. And I, you know what, like so the issue that we have, and I use that word loosely, understand, but one of the hurdles that we have to clear is understanding that there are major personal injury law firms that will dump hundreds of thousands of dollars annually into advertising. Like if you fly into the Baton Rouge Metropolitan Airport and you take a cab or an Uber from the airport to downtown Baton Rouge, just in that short 10-15 minute drive, you will see dozens of ads, either park benches, billboards, on the radio, ads in the airport, whatever it may be. It's buses. It's unavoidable. There are a handful of attorneys' offices that just blanket the market with their advertising, with frequency, because top-of-mind awareness is huge. And MGM, they've been around for 25 years. They've been in Baton Rouge for 25 years. They've done everything from medical malpractice and like major, intense, like super involved legal work. Like these are fantastic attorneys. They also do personal injury. Like they're amazing. They're an amazing team of attorneys. And they've also got tremendous integrity. So, for me though, when we're talking to them, my point is, okay, if you're not going to spend what the handful of others do, you're not going to beat them in frequency. Like the reason they're always top of mind is because they never let you forget them. It's not that everyone needs an attorney, but when you do need an attorney, what are you going to think of? Well, it's the attorney with the catchy jingle that I've heard a million times. The 3 or 4 guys that are on every billboard, on every TV stop set. You hear the jingle all the time, your radio ads and all that stuff. So I said, if you're not going to beat them with frequency, then the ads that you do run have to punch. And so like having an endorsement is big. So like having me as someone who's like a face of their or a voice of their firm is important. But also it's so important to make sure that we don't waste words. It would be so easy to say, I'm such and such law firm and we fight for our clients and we have so many years of combined experience. And the same thing that you hear everyone else say that doesn't differentiate. So you really have to get creative to make the message punch. And something that I suggested months ago was poking fun directly at the other law firms that spend a lot of money. Like point out the things that they do in their marketing campaigns and like openly poke fun at it to where it's unavoidable. Well, we did that. We ran an ad, and it ran for 3 days. And it got so much attention, but it also got attention to the point where MGM, the group that I represent, they were not comfortable with ruffling feathers within the community. And this is what I so much respect. That the people that I endorse have so much integrity. Like and I mean, I'm not trying to be romantic here, but like it would be so easy to say, well, we just want the business, do whatever's going to work to get our phones ringing. But in that instance, they didn't want to do anything that was going to be perceived as cheesy, as undermining or underhanded. When you think about attorneys, like there are stereotypes that everyone carries and follows. And in the conversations with them, one of the reasons I was so comfortable endorsing them is because they bucked every trend. Like this is a group that's been in Baton Rouge for 25 years. Like they don't have offices all over the state or all over the country. They're here. When you call and you want these attorneys, these are the people you're going to talk to, not one of their hundreds of associates in this massive law firm that handles 5,000 cases. It's a very different feel. And they're super professional and they're super accomplished. And it's like, okay, this fits. Like it fits the type of business that I endorse. And I felt very comfortable with them collectively and personally. But that also raises a challenge because what I felt would have been super effective is something they weren't comfortable doing. So what we did today was we had a meeting And we sat for an hour and a half, and I kind of grilled them on their business and what was working and what they liked and what they didn't, and they came back at me, and it was like, it was professional but so super productive, and you could tell like everybody was pulling the rope in the same direction, even if we had different ideas about how to pull the rope. And ultimately what we came to were like these 4 pillars. And one of them was like, I convinced them, hey, look, we can have fun, like sort of needling the other attorneys without being without being mean spirited, to where people could have a chuckle, and even the other attorneys that spend gobs and gobs of money could chuckle at it as well. So we had that one pillar. We also looked at another pillar about them being local, about the offices being in Baton Rouge, because we did find like that was relevant. Where when you call MGM injury attorneys, McGlynn, Glisson, Mouton, like, you're going to get Danny McGlynn or Chris Glisson or Ben Mouton or Morgan Levy. Like the people that you hear me talk about on the ad, like those are the attorneys that are going to take your case. And I think that's very important. Whereas if you call a gigantic law firm with 100 associates, like you're going to get one of the associates, you're not going to get them. You're not going to get that person on the billboard, on the TV commercial. And another sort of pillar that we talked about was Morgan. And Morgan Levy is a female attorney, and she's brilliant and amazing and super accomplished and has a world of experience. And she also happens to be really the first female that has been one of the faces of a law firm that's been that advertises publicly. Typically, what you see are middle-aged white men, certainly in this market. So MGM is the first firm to publicly put a female attorney, a partner, as one of the faces of their attorney. So when you watch their TV ads or you hear me talk about MGM injury attorneys, like we talk about Morgan, and we went back and forth a lot. Like, well, of course, the Me Too movement is so big now, and you wonder, like, from my audience, which tends to skew heavily male, how would that be perceived with a female attorney? And ultimately, we came to is like, it's 2018. Like, she's super accomplished, and shame on other people for not being more open to saying, like, if she's fantastic, great, I want her to take my case. And even looked at the possibility that there are female listeners to my show, which I'd say about 20, like we get the metrics, 20-25% of our audience is female. I have a damn loyal female listenership. And we thought, like, this could actually really appeal to, like, if you're a 30-something female, you get into a car wreck, you're not really sure how to handle the insurance side of things, and you're also maybe a little bit intimidated by calling a law firm and sitting in a big office at a big table with a man in a suit. Like, instead, there's this super accomplished female that's disarming and makes you feel very comfortable, but is also very strong-natured and willed. Like, that's a very powerful selling proposition. So anyway, my point is, if you go back to the beginning, we had to look at, okay, if we can't just blanket the market like everyone else did, like these other handful of firms do, how can we be creative to make sure that our message hits and is unique, and you have a unique selling proposition and something that's going to be memorable for the person hearing that, even if they don't hear it 10 million times, like they're going to, or see every billboard, every street corner, like, how do you make an impact? And that hour and a half long conversation was so super productive, because I feel like we came up with a ton of ways that are super creative and easy to enact and execute, that are going to net real results for this client. So I love doing stuff like that, but it's so much just like anything else in business or life. Like, it's putting in the work. It's instead of just going and like having a cup of coffee or spending an extra hour and a half at the gym today, I said, I'm going to go sit down with this client for an hour and a half, and I'm going to figure out, prepping my show. Like, I'll stay up later to prep my show the next day to get ahead, so I can go take this time that I would normally be committing to another avenue of my day to make sure this client is thrilled and we get results for them. Because at the end of the day, like, that's the primary objective. It's having this relationship where my show grows and it's successful, and people that listen will uh, take the recommendations that I make for the endorsements that I give, and trust the people that I endorse because they're great people. And after that meeting today, like I have this renewed passionate feeling about this law firm, MGM Injury Attorneys. Like I would encourage anybody, like if you have a need for an attorney, like call these people because they're amazing, and they're they're God, they're ethical, and and I feel so good endorsing them because I know, man, like if my family or anyone who listens to my show were to call this law firm, like if they got into an accident and they felt like they didn't want to just settle, or the insurance company was shorting them, like, and they felt like legal action was necessary, like they could call this group, and I know with absolute certainty they would be treated with dignity, respect, and they would have world-class attorneys that would get them a maximum return for what they deserve. And so it's just another lesson that no matter the client, no matter what business you're in, having open lines of communication is so important, but also making sure you go the extra mile, like to make sure that you're having an open line of communication with these people, and you're willing to spend the time to keep those lines open so they know that you have their business and their best interest in mind as well. So I hope that helps. Like I think that's critical for any advertising agency or for anyone who's on air who does endorsements or whatever. If you're a sales rep in whatever industry you may be, think about the person you're selling to and how you can give them even better service that's going to help deepen the roots of that relationship, but also get them the results that they want. So in the meantime, I hope that helps. Look, if there's anything, as always, that you'd love for me to talk about, or if you had feedback, please shoot me an email, mattmoscona@gmail.com, MattMoscona, mattmoscona@gmail.com. No matter where you're finding this podcast, iTunes, Google Play Music, Spreaker, Stitcher, Podbean. It's on YouTube as well. We're all over the place. So thank you for finding it. Please hit the subscribe button. That helps us tremendously as far as metrics. Rate the podcast. That helps tremendously as well. And thank you so much for listening. If you think this could be helpful to someone, just take 5 seconds, take 10 seconds right now. Take 10 seconds right now and think. I'm going to count down with you. Think of somebody who, while you're thinking of this could be helpful to. 10 seconds. 5 seconds. Okay, now that person, as soon as we're done, hit the share button and send this link to them. I appreciate you so much. Until next time, it's Daily Scone.